clothesline to Mr. X. What's he doing? Boston Crab. He's going for the Boston Crab. He has achieved the Boston Crab.
Here's one of these low budget. Leapfrog sets him up. Leapfrog. Oh, and a top from the moon. That looked good. Oh.
Crusher Cross wants one more title. He's going to have to build an addition to his house to keep it in.
Right now, Kelsey's trying to take away some of those.
Hey, big drop kick right in the teeth.
Boy.
That'll rearrange your dental work.
For the champion Crossen.
Yes, sir. That was a miss.
Oh!
Sets him up. No, blocked again. What? Oh, look out. Beautiful move
into a backslide.
Crossen could have ended this.
Swan dive.
It looks like this is his finishing run. Yes, sir. Gonna have to be careful now.
Our champion.
Champion, yes, sir. Ring the bell over there. Need to ring the bell. It's all over.
Hello, NWF fans, and welcome back to another episode of NWF Fast Forward, live from the NWF Wrestling channel and the Wrestling Revolution with Keaton channel. And of course, it's everyone's favorite part of the show. Let's get straight to the introductions. So first, I am your main host. I am the host with the most. I am the reason you tune in bi-weekly for this show. I am the longest reigning NIPW Junior Heavyweight Champion in history. I am the future NWF World Champion. And I am Ben Nelson's worst nightmare. I am the Canary Kid. And let's get into my co-host. He is the 5-time Schmuckerweight champion. He is arguably the reason why a lot of people wouldn't want to tune in bi-weekly. He is the reason that Dixie Dave has to carry every NWF Rewind episode. He is the ultimate schmuck, Schmucker Crossen.
And he is beginning to be a real coward these days, ladies and gentlemen. I showed that footage for a reason instead of our normal commercial that we've been playing about the match coming up, because I think we all know the match is coming up. But that's what Canary avoided, because his big concern, like we said, was the contingency plan I put in. I noticed last show, Canary, you were saying your line was, well, if we're just going to have to talk to see what we're going to do. No, we're not going to talk. If you beat Ben Nelson, you're facing me. There's nothing to talk about. And that had you concerned, because I know you know that I'm in the best shape in 30 years right now with what kind of shape I'm in right now. And that's a big concern, isn't it? And that's what you avoided. This is what happened, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to explain the story. I'm talking now. What happened here is Canary Kid was supposed to go against Ben Nelson last Saturday. That was the plan, the best of 3. This is match number 2. So remember how I said he was between a rock and a hard place? Because if he beats Ben, he's got to face me. And if he doesn't want to lose to Ben by any means, not even if he has to throw the match to him, he doesn't want to do that because his ego's bigger than mine ever was. So he wouldn't let that happen. So what does he do? He has a medical condition, doctor note or something that he brings to get out of the match. And then he says he's going to get the toughest opponent he can find to face Ben Nelson. And what does he get? Who does he get? Somebody that really wasn't quite ready yet. He's still training, I think, it looked like. He comes
more ready than you'll ever be.
He comes into the match, this schmuck. I hate to say it, but he is, until he's ready. And Ben could have beat this guy in his sleep. And so, so Ben, and so this way, Canary doesn't have to lose to Ben, and he doesn't have to face Crusher. Let me tell you something, facing Crusher. Canary, you and that meteor from hell finisher, whatever you got that you call it, I would sit my ass down in the corner, and I'd say, bring it, do it. I'm going to give you a freebie. Just like when he said, Hit me right here. I just bring it, do the meteor, and then he does this Meteora, whatever the hell it is. And then, yes, get you all 150 pounds with your knees on my shoulders, sitting on my shoulders. I would pick you up and I'd toss you right backwards up over that turnbuckle again. I am the master of escaping pins, submissions, you name it. So you're gonna need more than the meteor. So you did the you know, and obviously you're concerned because look at, I'm in such great shape right now. I'm in perfect shape, and I was ready for this match. I was ready to get in there. So, you were worried about losing the Ben. You were worried about having to face me, so you just ducked out of the whole damn thing.
Listen, Crusher. You want to talk about you being in the best shape of your life? The only shape you're in right now, no matter how much weight you lose, is a perfect circle. You have a perfect circumference, man. All right? And you said that I was between a rock and a hard place. I completely disagree. Facing you or facing Ben was like being in a bouncy castle. Because I was in the middle of two of the softest walls I could be in the middle of. There was nothing to worry about. I could put a little pin in both and it all deflates. All right? What I did was, the Canary Kid's a generous man. And as I picked up an injury, and I thought it was best to not disrespect the championship's lineage by having to pull out of the big match, I had to ensure I was in that championship match.
May I ask a question?
Once I'm done, I'm almost done. So what I did was, I gave a match to the future of NIPW, Dylan Clark, and I gave him a big match. And you know what? Ben barely escaped.
I wonder why. You were interfering in that match. I lost count. And you got in the ring and you held his arms. Why the referee didn't disqualify you at that point in time, I have no idea. I'm going to talk to Mitch about that. That he's probably going to have to be fined for that. There should have been an immediate disqualification. And yeah, so you interfering never breaks the rules. I never break the rules. And you were breaking so many rules there, I lost count. And I was going to ask you something on that, but that doctor's note. What was the medical condition? Anxiety disorder because you're worried about Crusher and you're worried about Ben? I mean, you never said what it was. So it's like,
it was a torn cruciate.
A torn cruciate.
Yeah.
Now, guys, I think I'm going to use the line that Canary likes. If you believe that, I got beach property in Kansas. I'd just love to sell you. And I know you like that one. You're trying not to laugh. That's yeah. Listen, I want to change gears now. I got that off my chest. I got that literally off my chest. If I push his ass right back over those turnbuckles.
I'm sure you would.
But, so everybody, you're not going to see Crusher versus Canary. He ducked out of it again. But, so that's okay. But
plan comes together.
But, there's still a match. There's still a title match coming up and everything. So, but I want to talk about some things, Canary. I'm going to switch gears. I had to get, there's two kind of people. You have two kind of friends in this world, Canary. You got friends that tell you what you want to hear, and they're a dime a dozen. And generally, they want you to be their friend more than you want them, because that's why they tell you everything you want to hear. And then there's those that tell you what you need to know. That's me. So that's why I got on your ass just now. But now I'm going to switch gears. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things we talked about last week. So let's see. You said, when I was trying to help give you advice last week, you were saying, Crusher, find me another 17-year-old who knows what it's like to be me. No one knows what it's like to be me. No one's at a level I'm at. I know I'm really good. This, that, and everything else, right? And you said, find me another 17-year-old that's going through what I'm going through, or doing what I'm doing. So, besides Ben, Ben's doing the same thing, by the way. He's 17 too.
Not to my level.
But not to your level. So, but anyways, find somebody else. So, you know what? You're looking at the other person, because when I was your age 40 years ago, I was you. I was doing everything you were doing. Different time period. But back then, I was as good as anybody. And I knew it, just like you know it. And I knew I was as good. I could do anything. I could high fly. I could grapple. I could technical. I could bump. I could do it all. And just like you're 5'9", 150. I was 5'8", 145. So I also got side glances, and I heard all the bullshit. Like, if he just had 60 more pounds, or if he had a little more muscle, we could use him. The only person who believed me was Eddie Sharkey. But the rest of them, Jim Mitchell, all these other guys, nah. I had tons of missed opportunities for the same reason you seem to have some of them still. So I understand, Canary, what you're going through more than you'll ever know. And as a matter of fact, in addition to wrestling, I was also promoting. I was running the entire league. Think about this. I was running the whole operation. Everybody was coming to me with their problems, concerns, questions, including the adults that were twice my age. I think that was a bit awkward. And then producing a cable television show every week and having to syndicate it to 22 states. I mean, that was, you talk about pressure. So I do understand what it's like to be you. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because you lump me in the crowd that doesn't. And I agree. Everybody else doesn't know what it's like to be you. I can safely say, Ricky, that I am probably the only person in your life who can honestly look at you and say, I know what it's like to be you, because I do. Now, you can say the wrestling's more advanced now, and it is, but guess what? Emotions, pressure, stress, missed opportunities, they don't evolve. They're the same. They're the same back then as they are today. So when I say I can understand, I can. And that's what you got to remember. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm trying to help you. Now, that being said, I and this is the other thing, you'll never admit it, and I don't want you to, but I know you respect me, and I know I influence you to a certain degree. And it's obvious. I mean, we just look at your drop kick ever since you met me and how much it's improved. And that's a credit to you. And then look at the hamstring pull that I see you doing. You didn't even know what that was a few months ago when we watched my match with Mr. X.
I wouldn't say that now. Come on, I knew what the hamstring pull was. I already told you where I learned that.
You do now, but you didn't know what it was then. And
I
we
knew the
pointed.
hamstring pull now.
Now you do.
I knew it over a year ago, but continue.
So you didn't, but you started using it all of a sudden. It just came into your arsenal. Nobody does that anymore, except now you're bringing it back. But my point is this, and then just the fact that you're on this podcast with me, I know that you have some respect for me. And I'm not saying this because I don't want credit. I don't want a pat on the back. The only reason I say this is because I can only imagine seriously how much it must have really hurt you when I kept propping up Ben, saying badass Ben Nelson. That had to have hurt your feelings. Coming from me after everything that I just said. I mean, you're human. You have a tough outer shell, Canary. You have the tough guy. I get it. But we're all human. And so the reason I was thinking about this is because sometimes it takes a really good friend to let you know when you've done wrong. And Dixie Dave is a good friend. And he pointed it out last week on Rewind of my errors. And he's absolutely right. You see, my thinking was if I propped up Ben, which I think highly of both of you, but if I propped up Ben over you, that would light a fire under your ass and make you take him more seriously. Because what you do in these big championship matches, your overconfidence kills you. And that's the best way to combat overconfidence, is to talk about your opponent. And that's what my thinking was. But I was wrong. Dave pointed it out. And when you find out that you've made a mistake and you've misjudged something, you need to own it. And that's what I'm doing, Ricky. So I'm really seriously, I'm telling you right now, from me to you, I'm so sorry about this, because friendships, they're a fragile thing. And when you start fracturing a friendship, sometimes they're never going to be repaired again. And I really am sorry for doing this. I shouldn't have not done that. And that's on me. All right. I know you're going to say Ben's to blame, but think about it. You weren't angry at me because you were looking up to me at the time, but you know who you're angry at? The person I'm talking about. And that was Ben. So it just makes you more mad at him. And that's exactly what you did. And that's my fault. That's not your fault. That's my fault. So before you go on, though, I just want to cover a couple things quick. Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why do I care about you? Why do I care about Ben? Right? Well, it's really simple. Back when I was like I said, you and I, Ricky, we're the same, just different time period. But when I had all the missed opportunities, like came a point where I realized in my era, I couldn't go any further. The doors were closed. The roadblocks, I was too small. I could give them anything they wanted, but I can't give them DNA. I can't change me. I'm a small guy. And that's what it is. And I can't change that. But you don't have that problem. Ben doesn't have that problem. You guys can make it. The small guys can make it. You just got to be good enough. So, so why do I care? Because when I found you on the internet 2 years ago, the first thing I thought of, and I'm not just talking physical appearance, I thought, God damn it, this is like looking in a mirror. Because all my heart and soul and passion, I still have it. But I can't go anywhere with it. But you can. So the reason I'm supporting you guys, why I care, I want you to fulfill your dreams for the reasons I never could. And you can do it. And that's why I'm always going to be behind you and Ben all the time. Because you two, that's why I picked you two. You talked about missed opportunities. Well, you got one. I'm giving it to you in this world title match. I could have picked anybody on your roster. Nathan said anybody you want. I could have picked Crooks. I could have picked Sage. I picked you two. And you know why? Because I know what it's like to be you. And I know about those missed opportunities. And I figure I'm going to take the guys who aren't getting the opportunities that deserve it. That's why I picked you. So now you know. And the only thing I ask is just don't let me down. I mean, I would want you to make me proud. That's all I ask. I don't want you to turn this match into a slugfest, into a revenge tactic for Ben to get it back at Ben. I'm going to do what I can to make that right. There's still time. But you need to go into this match respecting the belt. And that's what has to happen here, Ricky. I'm not asking you to be best friends with him again, but you got to at least respect him. And I'm just going to leave it there. I know you got responses to all this. I'll let you talk.
Well, Crusher, as much as I appreciate your apology, and I would love to believe it, I can't. Because you see, the thing about your apology is, yes, you were propping up Ben indeed the entire time. However, I disagree that it was from a place of, it was from a good place. I know exactly, and a lot of people know exactly why you prop up Ben. And it's out of envy. You go for silver instead of gold, and that's what the comparison between myself and Ben is. You look at Ben as a silver because you yourself are a silver. Because you don't want to talk about gold because that makes you feel the insecurities in yourself that you don't like to look at. I am your insecurities, and you've admitted it many times that I am way up here and you were never able to hit that in your career, and I'm there. So you surround yourself with a bunch of second place to make yourself feel better because you're just as good as the people you surround yourself with. And that's exactly why you surround yourself with Ben. And I can assure you, you talk about how I looked up to you and stuff. There was only 3 heroes I have in this world. That's my father, that's Nathan Hoy, and that's myself. Because I realized there's only 3 role models I can have. The person who helped me come into this world, the person who taught me everything I know about wrestling, and the person I am, and that's me, the Canary Kid, the heart and soul of this place. And I realized that I set my own standards because people like you can't live up to the hero standards that I deserve. So if I set my own bar, I know my limits. I know what I can jump over. And with my own standards, I am limitless. And I will show that I'm limitless when I take on Ben Nelson, take his championship, and this ingot of gold will get the gold. And I can assure you that.
I respect Nathan Hoy just as much as you do for different reasons. And he knows you well. But you know something, mister? Nathan Hoy doesn't know what it's like to be you. I do. Because Nathan Hoy wasn't a 17-year-old doing this. I was. Now, you can make that big, grand speech you just did, but the bottom line is this, and you know it deep down. I do know exactly what you're going through. I know the path you're on. I've been on it myself. I know what's around the corner. You don't. Now, whether you want to accept it or not is up to you. And as far as gold, You find me. Yes, I'll give you a challenge. Find me another 16-year-old who did everything I did in 1986. And I'll make it easy for you. You're not going to find one because I was one of a kind. You talk about gold standard. And listen, that was a nice little attempt there. But deep down, you know I'm right. And all I want out of this, Ricky, is I want you to do what's right. That's the key word here, what's right. So you can lose that tough guy talk and start accepting the reality of it. There's a championship match a week away, and you're sitting here talking with vengeance. If you go into this match with that kind of attitude, we're not going to have the championship match that I was hoping to have for the 40th anniversary of the NWF. And you don't, like I said, you know that means a lot to me. And I know you respect me. You can sit here and say you only respect 3 people, but that's bullshit. And you know it.
Well, the thing is, you may have been one of a kind at your time. That's 100% true. But you know, when you look at the other people, not even just your age, that you surrounded yourself with, Crusher, part of my language, but you were just the shiniest shit. You were surrounded by bronze, and you as a silver stood out. That's what it was. You had a glass ceiling right there, but you just couldn't break through it because of it's your own actions. They kept you back. And now you look back, because I'll admit it myself, you had the potential to be special, but you let it slip because you let that ceiling stay there. You didn't break it. You let it sit there. And again, it's the jealousy that I don't have a ceiling anymore. I broke that ceiling a long time ago. I don't have a ceiling. Because as a 14-year-old, I broke in to the land of the giants. I was the youngest wrestler in the country, picking up wins in my second ever professional wrestling match against D.D. Crooks, one of the best wrestlers in the United Kingdom. And that's what my standard is, because I was taught from a young age that you don't set low standards. You set unachievable standards and prove everyone wrong who called them unachievable standards. And that's what I live by.
Ricky, you're just not wanting to admit it. And I don't blame you. This is the hate talking. This is your anger because of what I said, propping up Ben. It's going to take more than just a speech to get you over this. But this is the first attempt. And it takes a real man to admit these things. And that's what I did to you. And that's hopefully something you can learn from. And let's see what some of our comments are saying. We got Wrestling Revolution Keaton. He's one of your biggest fans. Canary, I have to say it. I have to say it, but Crusher's been right this whole time from a friendly perspective. If you don't get the game together, you're losing to Ben. So here's your number 1 fan. And this is what he's now saying.
Look, all I'm going to say is this. Keaton, the plane is in the runway. Hasn't taken off yet. You're more than welcome to board it. But if you choose not to board this plane now, it's going to take off without you. Nothing you do will stop me from rising to the top. So Keaton, you're either with me for the ride, or you can sit at home and watch. Watch me rise. Because, Keaton, you have so much potential as well. But again, if you're going to look up to people like Ben and Crusher, you're not going to hit your standards. You have to look at a real hero. And as someone who sees myself as my own hero, it's a great hero to look up to. To keep that in mind.
So, and then Gizmo says this, just chiming in on this subject. He says, I think you both have great points. Ricky, Crusher's always talks highly about you on Rewind. Crusher is one of your biggest supporters. These are the people talking, Ricky. I mean, you can think what you want about me, but...
Crusher, if I spent my whole life listening to the people, I would not be where I am today. My entire life has been not listening to people.
And how's that worked out for you?
How's that worked out for me? The longest reigning NFPW Junior Heavyweight Champion.
Tied.
There were people telling me. There were people telling me and telling Nathan Hoy that I shouldn't even be put on shows. The 14-year-old should not be on shows. Look at him. He's what? 5'2", scrawny as hell. He should not be on a show. but I didn't listen to them. Nathan himself was telling me from the start, he told me many times, he compared me to other people who started the same time as me and asking, why aren't you at their level? You want to know where those people are who started the same time as me? They quit. I'm still here. They will never be on my level. And that's all I can say. I didn't listen to people, and it got me where I am today. So I'm going to keep living by my own morals until I can somehow fall off this bottomless perch.
Yeah, something you say that you're getting in the plane, taking off, and Keaton's going to be without you. Keaton, that's probably a good thing because this plane, like I said, is going to be in a tailspin. And when you get in a tailspin like you're going, the only way going from up is down, crashing and burning. And you're going to do it, Canary. I really wish you'd get your stuff together though, because I'm trying to think. Here's the thing. I'm trying to think what brought you and I together, because you were halfway around the world. What brought me and you together? I believe everything in this world happens for a reason. I believe in a higher power. Maybe that's at work here. But at the same time, I'm not your savior. I'm not your guardian angel. I'm just a guy who knows what it's like to be you at your age. And you are going to need to understand that, Ricky. And there's nothing you can do to deny that. It's the truth. Nathan would even tell you that, because he knows that I competed at the same age you were. And I was just as good at the time period. I could do everything. I could do things that other people couldn't even do. So I know what it's like when you say that you're at the top of your game, because I know what that's like. But you have to understand, in my era, I couldn't go any further. There was not a choice. They just didn't use people our size then, period. No matter what you do to try to change that. It wasn't, I was born too early. And that's just a fact. So it's just why I'm still going to be your number one supporter, because I want you to succeed, because I want you to succeed for me. And I don't care what you say. I don't care how mean you talk to me or how vicious you get. I'm not going to change my beliefs. And that's what I believe. So whether you believe me or not, that's all on you. But I'm telling you right now, there's not many people that could look you in the eye and say that they know what you're going through. And I can. And for you to lump me in that crowd last week, our last show, that was wrong of you. That was a mistake. I'm not in that crowd. So you just remember that.
You're just like every one of them, Crush. Because, again, I'll give it to you. You know how it feels to be a teenager in a wrestling business. You were, especially because you were in the 80s, you were in the land of the giants. It was hard to break out if you were anything less than 200 pounds. Probably even 200 pounds would be a struggle. So you know how it feels to struggle. But you don't know how it feels to be me. You know how it feels to be Crusher Crossing for sure. But you know how it feels to be me. You don't have the people around you that I have around me. You don't have the critics that I have. You had your own critics. I have different critics. We are, yes, two pieces of the same thread, but it's a multicolored thread, and we are two completely different colors. And that's simply what it is. So you don't know how it feels to be me. You just know how it feels to be almost like me.
No, I know what it was like. I told you before, emotions don't have any color threads. Emotions are the same. They don't they don't evolve. Wrestling evolves. Emotions don't. And when I say what it feels like to be you, yes, I do. And that's the key word there, Ricky, and that's the facts. And I hope that someday you will understand what I'm saying. But for me, it's a different outlook, because I know the path you're traveling on. I've been down that road. I know what's going to be around the corner, especially where you're heading right now. I mean, you're now cheating outright. I mean, this is going to not end well for you if you keep doing these kind of things. I'm telling you, just trust me. Have I ever lied to you before? Answer me. Have I ever lied to you before?
Yeah, you told one big lie, and that's trying to say that me and Ben Nelson are on a similar level.
You and Ben Nelson are both 17-year-olds wrestling, right?
Doesn't mean we're a similar level.
I didn't say level. I said 17-year-olds.
Sure, yeah, we're the same age.
Yes. Okay, there you go.
That's not relevant at all, what I just said.
Well, I don't know why you said that, because I never said it that way.
So you don't think we're on the same level?
I think that you and Ben Nelson are two young kids in the wrestling business learning and training the same way. Yes, I do. You've got more experience than he does. That's true, if that's what you're trying to say. But that's, I never really, you're putting words in my mouth now, Ricky. And the fact of the matter is, I'm trying to help you. I just don't know why you don't see it. And I know, and you can say you don't respect me, and I know you do. And you know you do. Don't lie to the people like that. You know, when you start lying, you're only lying to yourself. Like I said, there's two kind of friends in this world, Ricky. There's the ones that tell you everything you want to hear, and that's great, but it doesn't do you any good when it's not right. And then there's people like me who are going to tell you what you want to hear, or tell you what you need to know. And sometimes what you need to know is not what you want to hear. And that's just the facts. And I'm not trying to fight with you. That's why I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to help you. And I just wish you could see that. And yes, you do respect me. And yes, you did get your drop kick better from watching mine. It's obvious. You can't deny these things. So you need to wake up and realize the truth on some of this stuff before it's too late. We only got a week to go, Ricky. Let me ask you this. Do you want to make this championship match one to remember? Yes or no?
Yep.
So if you want to make it one to remember, and do you want to make it one that I will be proud of, that it was a good match and a classic championship match that's one for the ages?
Honestly, I don't care what you're proud of, Crusher, because, again, as much as you want to think that I lie to the people and I don't care what the people think, if I have those people on their feet, I know I did my job. And that's the opinions that I will care about.
So in other words, you don't care about the opportunity I'm bringing to you 5,000 miles. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I care about the opportunity. I just don't care about your opinion.
Well, if you care about the opportunity, then you care about me. Because I'm giving you the opportunity. Not Nathan, not Mitch, me. Because if I don't bring this belt, there's no opportunity. If I don't pick you, there's no opportunity. You keep complaining about not getting opportunities. You got one from me. And I told you why. You think about that.
Well, let's be honest. When it comes to this opportunity that you so graciously give me, you're so charitable doing that. You didn't have much of a choice. Let's think about it. Look at your options. I stand out quite clearly above the rest, and you know it's best for the championship. It's best for business that I take that championship, and you know it.
So in other words, I should have picked Crooks. Should have picked Sage. Is that what you're telling me?
Not instead of me. Have you not seen me? Levels above. What, Sage and his 14-day title reign?
See, Ricky, you're just not. You just need to start seeing things with more appreciation. Let's see what Wrestling Revolution Keaton says. He goes, not with Ben Nelson, just stating a fact that you have got to accept that Crusher is right. This is indeed his fault, but he is right this time. There again, somebody that you know all too well. We both do. Now even Keaton is starting to see these things. Ricky, this is what I tried to tell you. When you get hate and anger fueling through you like this, it clouds your vision. You just don't see everything the same way. Everything's upside down right now for you. And the thing is, when you get rid of that hate and anger, it will start to come into focus, and you'll see exactly what we're saying here. Don't try to do this. Don't go into this with in this approach. You know what? If you go in with hate and anger, you might win, but you're not going to feel good about it. Trust me. If you want an example of that, look at Crooks and look at Sage. You think they're happy? They're together again, but they have all the hate and anger and they're titleless. Need I say more?
So, can you give me a good example? Would Ben Nelson be a good example of someone who isn't filled with hate and anger and has been...
I'm not... You know what? He's got his own issues, and he has hate and anger too. I'm not saying just you, but I'm just talking to you because you're here.
So, John McCann, would he be one you say doesn't wrestle with hate and anger? Like, because I'm wondering, because there's a lot of people that you would say wrestle without hate and anger, and I don't see a title around their waist.
Well, I don't see a title around yours right now either.
Well, what you will see is a title around my waist when I take the NWF Championship, and what you see right now is my name in the history books with my NXT Junior Heavyweight Championship ring.
There's one thing you got to remember. I'm reffing that match. Whoever's going to win, it's going to come by my 3 count or submission by me.
Okay.
So, yes, that's true. And if you want to play dirty, if you want to play rough, if you want to break rules, try that. Just try that with me. I'm not that other ref. Just try that with me. There's no rule breaking that's going to take place in this match.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to have a shit show. Okay? Let's see. Gizmo says, is chiming in here, and then we'll get, I think we're going to get Tina. Once I see Tina show up, she's still not showing up yet. And we're going to get her in. I mean, she's there, but I got to, she's not, her camera's not on. Gizmo says, Ricky, I think you and Ben are similar in age and stature, but you both have different styles and techniques. I think you both have a chance to grow through this title fight.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that Ben will grow a lot. I am the perfect fertilizer. And, when Ben steps in the ring with me, he'll grow like Jack and the Beanstalk. But I'll tell you what, I'm in the atmosphere. He can't reach me. As I've said about ceilings, Ben didn't set his own ceiling. It's just down to natural ability at this point because Ben, he works hard as hell. And that's one thing I respect about Ben Nelson. He works so hard. And like myself, he isn't credited for it. The only difference is he's too comfortable with letting that happen. I'm not. I'm willing to break down walls and break down doors, break any sort of barrier. I'm ready to break everything, including records, just to reach the levels that I know I can reach. Ben Nelson, he gets too comfortable. And that's why me and Ben are at that little bit of a different level. And Ben is way too comfortable to ever get out of that, familiarity with mediocrity.
I would say Ben in the last few months has really picked it up. Like he's a lot better than he was, say, 3 months ago. He's really shifted into a different gear now. And
yeah, you're welcome, Ben.
He's looking good, and that's nothing against you. I'm just saying Ben, is looking pretty good. And I've always, Ricky, again, your insults to me bounce off because when you have as much pride as I have, you can't hurt me with that. And I know the truth. The truth always prevails victorious in this situation, by the way. I know the truth and I know how you really feel. And I know what's the real person inside you. That's the honest truth. I'm not saying this I'm not bragging about this. I'm saying this because I know it's true. And I can honestly look into your eyes and I can say, Ricky, there's nobody else in your life that knows what it's like that you're going through except me. And it is the truth. So truth never lies. Now we got Tina waiting for us. She's in
That's
here.
good.
And we'll talk a little bit more as we get to the end of the show when we're done too, when we go over what's coming up next. But before we bring Tina in, we're just going to run this quick promo on the card coming up at Willowfield Church Halls, right? Yep. So we're going to take a look at this quick promo. It's going to have the match breakdown. And then when we come back, we're going to bring Tina in. So let's take a look at this.
Attention Belfast, Northern Ireland's #1 pro wrestling promotion is making its highly anticipated return to the capital city. Saturday, May 31st at the Willowfields Church Halls. An absolutely stout card in store for everybody that afternoon, so let's take a quick rundown of the action. Coming in red hot at #1, it's the NXG Junior Heavyweight Championship as the Irish grappler John McCann steps foot in the ring with the brand new NXG Junior Heavyweight Champion in his very first defence, Jordan Nelson. Up next we have Nando Libre versus Ken Cutler. Iron Ken Cutler is operating on a whole different level these days and is becoming a must-see star here in NIPW. He's looking to continue the form of his career. However, waiting for him is a refocused and determined Nando Libre looking to get himself back into the winning looks. Up next is a match with 40 years of history and prestige. The NWF World Heavyweight Championship, a title that has identified the very best young talent, and that's exactly what you're going to get. The Canary Kid goes one-on-one with Ben Nelson in the final match of a best of 3. To ensure that's all down the middle, the man in charge of the action, the founder of the NWF and former multiple-time champion, none other than Dr. Crossen. Coming in next is 4 of the hardest hitting trash-talking in-your-face competitors the North has to offer. Northwest versus Pure South. We never thought we would see Pure South side by side ever again. They're reunited, refocused and ready to go to war one more time. But this time, a Viking and a cowboy are wasted. And that Viking and cowboy have laid to waste every deal they have met so far. And then your main event of the night, a singles match for the NIPW Revolution Heavyweight Championship as the #1 contender. Undefeated King of the North, Damien Corbin steps foot in the ring with the undefeated NIPW Resolution Heavyweight Champion, Alan Black. Book your tickets now to assure your place at Northern Ireland's #1 pro wrestling promotion.
All right, we are back, and we're going to bring Tina in here, and hopefully her audio issues will be good. I think we'll be okay. Let's see what happens. So here's our guest, Teena-Louise from Saffron Gear. Hi, Tina. Welcome in.
How are you?
Hang on.
Audio's much better.
I forgot to unmute my stage. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, we can hear you good now.
There we
All
go.
right. Good.
Perfect.
So we're going to have slideshow playing of all of the gear that you provided me. So it's different things you've made. So, and I guess where should we start, Tina? Like, what do we want to start with here?
So that one was out of Arizona, High Flyer. It is a bit different than his design. His original design was AI, which is not something that most gear makers will take.
Yeah.
Because we have specific people in this business that design gears, and that kind of takes away from them and what they can do.
Right.
And so we kind of just had to put that together last minute. This one is for a tag team in North Carolina. It's a brother duo. And I believe I sent matching bikers with that. That design was made with markup on a cell phone.
Right.
Oh my.
So now, well, let's start like that. Like, how long have you been doing gear? Like, when did you start?
Oh my gosh. Probably when I was 8. So back in 1992, just kind of, that was the time that your parents would leave you with the older sibling and, don't open the door for anybody. I would just go mess with my mom's sewing machine, and it just kind of went from there. They had friends. There's the matching pair right there. And so they had friends who were in the business, and it just kind of progressed from there, But I wouldn't say that I considered myself a gear maker probably until I was like 18 or 19.
Sure. And then you've done gear for all sorts of organizations all over, right? Like, name some of the places that you've worked with making gear.
I mean, I've worked with a lot of clients that have been on those stages.
Right.
I've done stuff in the past for Alex Cologne. I've done stuff for Scorpio, Too Cold Scorpio. God, not put me on the spot. During COVID, a lot of the people that they brought in, with empty arenas and stuff, a lot of their gears that were on there, not the main roster talent, but just the local talent out of St. Louis and a couple other places.
And I know you've shipped international because we talked about it when we did our test. So you've had like international clients as well that you've done stuff for, obviously, because you're shipping there.
Right. So my international clients, I haven't had them directly all over the world. It's been pretty subsect to Denmark, Sweden, around those areas, because that's where I actually know the language. So I just kind of stick to what I know.
Right, because otherwise you got a communication barrier. And so then, now also you have a relative that's, I think, your aunt or aunt, depending on how you say it. I say aunt, some people say aunt. But she was a wrestler.
Yeah, Princess Victoria.
Princess Victoria, yeah. And former WWF Ladies Tag Team Champ, originally NWA Ladies Tag Team Champ before they got sucked into the WWF and incorporated into there. Or, like you said, WWF back then.
That's what I would say. It throws me off when you say WWF, and I'm like, I think she retired because of her neck getting broke.
Yeah.
So yeah, she retired, I think, before that transition.
Sure. Yeah. That's cool to have a relative in the business like that. Did it help at all with any contacts or anything, or no, or just name recognition or anything for you?
Um, I try not to do that.
Yeah.
Um, I was kind of raised in a very strict military household. 4 generations of that. And so it's always been implemented, do everything kind of on your own
Yeah. Earn
and
it yourself.
earn it yourself. And she really appreciates that. I mean, she still is one of my biggest fans. She still puts me over, Judy Martin, Leilani Kai,
Yeah.
her counterparts, they all
I
put
remember
me.
Judy. I remember Judy Martin back in the day. Yeah, she was one of the famous leads. Her and Wendy Richter tag team, I think, or they'd go against each other, one of the two. But
I mean,
they
it's
traveled.
it's kind of, it's kind of confusing for some because, I did start out fairly young.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're a child, you don't really understand business or how that works. You just do the work and somebody else, collects. So a lot of my clients are over many eras of
Right.
wrestling. If they're not currently wrestling, they go to cons or they go to meet and greets or they go to other events. The Cauliflower Alley Club.
Sure.
And so I'll make garments and stuff for them, like Raven, for instance. I
Hmm.
made him several shirts, just for his meet and greets and for Starcast and things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have a plethora of generational wrestlers on top of the current generation that's still wrestling that gets actual gear.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some of this stuff, and like you do whole sets and everything. Now I think we talked. You said you'll do anything except wrestling boots. You don't do wrestling boots, but you'll do just about every other piece that you could have, right? Like, well, I mean,
I
yeah, because there are some gear makers that'll do boots, but yeah,
um they probably have the machines and the space for it.
right,
I personally do not have the patience to do that. I don't
right.
think that I could. I know how to do the proper measurements for them, but beyond that, there's no way.
But elbow
Um,
pads, knee pads, all that kind of stuff. You could do any of that, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
I do all of that. I do have a grasp on doing masks and things like that, but
right.
I just, you can't do too much because then
Sure.
you get bombarded. So I'm kind of figuring out right now what I want to continue to do, that I really enjoy doing.
And now you don't come up with logos for people, but you have people you recommend if they need that kind of thing, right?
I do go third party with Preston Riker and Face Kicked Apparels, which is owned by Sean Evans, which is both are workers in Michigan. And so I'll get with them. Hey, this person doesn't have any logos. What can we do? This is where I want to go with it. You know, make sure they're taken care of, and then they'll provide it. I'll get with the client. Hey, what do you think about this? You
Yeah,
know, um,
exactly.
but it's preferred that clients go on their own.
Hmm.
And I do tell all of my clients it's best to do it that way because, obviously you want your own logos, you want to have something for merch,
Yeah.
so it's best that you do that and then, you pay the artist fees and have those rights to use it on other things aside from your gear.
Now I'm sure in like a lot of indie wrestlers watch our podcast, because we bring them on as guests, and I'm sure they're curious what would be the price range that you'd be paying for some of these kind of things. Like I'm looking at the trunks, and I'm sure it varies on what you get. I get that it could be depending on the type and the style and the process, it can vary. But like, what would be a price range? Would you say, like, say for like long tights like this, for example?
Well, every gear maker obviously is different. They base their pricing on different things. For me, some of these, the base price, like just plain, nothing, would start at 200 for maybe tights. And I mean, it's really hard to say because I don't really put my pricing out there.
Right.
Just because.
Well, how
But
much can they go up to? I guess that's like, what has been the most expensive one you've done?
I would say probably knee pads, trunks, and a Von Erich length robe.
Okay, because you do robes. That's right.
Yeah, so it went up to about 600 when you throw shipping in there.
Sure. So 200 to 600 depending on what you're getting and stuff, right?
Yeah, and like I said, that's just me based off of my principle, and also just what you feel that it may or may not be worth. There's other makers that price higher, and it's their worth, and that's okay. So I mean,
I imagine though you get what you pay for in this kind of thing. Like if you get, I'm thinking like, remember Canary, your original blue tights, and you had those iron-on letters, and then they just peeled off after a while.
Oh, that was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to keep my prices low because you grew up in almost the same era I did, Crusher.
Right.
A lot of the talent didn't have shoot jobs and
Right.
wrestling. They did one or the other. So now you have this generation that's actually working a shoot job, trying to go full time. And so you want to help them get there, but they got families, they got
Sure.
bills, they got, they work really hard to meet those goals. So I try to work with people, if I can keep it on the low side, like I said, it just all depends on what they want. I try to keep it on the low side, but work with them on payments or
Yeah.
something, because it's not about money for me. It's more of, to me, and it's kind of played out cliche now, but gear really tells the story. I think it pushes the storyline, it pushes your gimmick, it pushes what you want to convey to the audience to keep them coming back.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that you have, a gear maker that listens, that follows along, that understands, how to get to point A to point B, but on a budget, because you don't want to go broke, investing totally in your look, but you can't afford your wrestling training, or you can't afford your electric bill. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, let's
Exactly.
get my trustworthy friend's opinions in here, and let's see what Ricky has to say. Ricky, any questions? Like, I'm sure you have some now that you've thought of.
Oh yeah, I'm fully loaded. No, but looking at some of this gear, like, it's amazing work. Like, I love like the diversity, because you see some of it, like there's all sorts of different types of gear. You've got, like, we just saw a singlet there, and then we saw like some biker shorts, we saw tights, we saw jackets. Do you have like a favorite piece of gear to make? Like, it's just you enjoy it the most.
I love making tights.
Yeah.
Only because there's just, there's so much that you can do on tights. And just like this one right here, that one was a great piece. It was, as you can tell, like very detailed on the tight side. On the back, it was the exact same. So you just have more to work with when you have tights than you do anything else.
Yeah.
So when you say
And
tights, are you talking long tights or short
Yeah.
ones, or all of it?
Long tights, and then there's bikers, and then I call them the Murphy shorts.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like little
With the,
zigzags.
Yeah, those are,
Yeah.
and then that with Frito, that was actually kind of funny. We were gonna do the Shawn Michaels bit with the chains and the cutouts and everything, but I got contacted about how too similar it was turning out. So I had to unfortunately make it into a regular vest with only a
Aw.
few parts. Um,
The
which
creativity got the better of you.
yeah, and that's another thing that I think is very important for trainees or indie wrestlers to understand. You really got to have some grasp on copyrights and trademarks um, for your country, but whatever country you may travel to as well and live and work. Because sometimes wrestlers get mad, they want to do something exact but just throw their logos on it, and it's like, well, you can't, because some of these patterns are actually patented, not for commercial use, and
Right.
that can definitely set the
Right.
maker.
Yeah, because people come in with like a logo of some name brand thing, and you can't just put that on for that reason because there's a trademark
So
there.
one of the ones that popped up, those shorts, again, the Murphy shorts, it's a beer logo, Dos Equis, but there was actual changes to the logo besides just the Salvador put on there to where it's similar, but it's not too similar. So
Right.
some things, again, you can get away with. Same thing with Fritos logo. There was subliminal, I guess you could say, changes to where it's not exact to the actual
Right.
Frito.
And when you get technical in copyright law, it's like you got to have a certain percentage changed, and they get real technical with it. And as long as it's over this percentage, then it's it's usually good to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I know Tina, you were worried about Ricky. Is he gonna be harsh on you and stuff? And I said, I'll take care of him if he isn't, and I think he'll be good.
I'm not
I think he'll be
worried
good.
about Ricky. No, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I
There you
prepare.
go. There's nothing to prepare for. It's honestly it's a respect. I don't believe in respect being earned, but I believe in it being lost. And
Mm.
there's certain people like my co-host who have lost it. But let's not drift
I'll have
off.
to earn it back. But anyway,
Looking at the gear,
yeah.
is there something that you look back on, like in all the years you've been making gear, and you go, has to be my proudest one? Like you're just very proud of that one piece that you've made.
It's coming.
Damn, we're getting a cliffhanger here, folks. Stay tuned. Follow on our socials, and you'll see it. Saffron Gear, because there we
That
go.
piece right there was one of my favorites to do because it just reminded me a lot of Jeff Hardy.
That's what I saw. Looking at it, looked like the yeah. The vibe.
Yeah. So that one, but I would say, whew, well, I did enjoy the biker shorts I made for Hernandez because I did draw an Aztec calendar into the Superman logo, or the Super Mech logo. I shouldn't say Superman logo. Please don't sue me. But
See, that's the commercialized thing you were
yeah.
saying.
I know a lot of his guys were liking your Instagram post talking about this podcast. So I think, aren't you doing? Weren't you doing that for Supermax? A whole like show for gear for them, for Hernandez.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, it wasn't quite his show. It was another school that he, I guess,
Oh,
works
that's
with.
right, the one in California.
Yeah, in Lodi,
Yeah.
California.
Yep,
Which
yep.
I got a plug real quick. They have a show tonight at 15712 North Curry in Lodi, California. $10 adults, $5 kids. JoJo Savage gonna have his singlet. Main event, Michael Sean. it was kind of like it was a design that his daughter actually created, based off his, inspirations. Um, Also, Freeman as well. Just a whole plethora of clients there. Perry Papaya and the Pineapple Express with Princess Penelope. Jolene, the whole crew is getting things from me. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit it all in 1 week, but I did make a solid attempt and did work out good. See, look how great
I
that looks.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That took me 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Hmm.
It's surprisingly quick. Because me personally, when I get gear, like I'm happy with the gear I get,
No,
but to be
it's the
fair, I
logo
do.
that took me 3 weeks.
Never mind. I can see why it took you. I was like, whoa, 3 weeks to make that and the logo and everything. No, okay, that makes more sense. That adds up
And
more.
It took
you
me
know,
about 2 weeks
and
because there's a lot
and
drawing and scaling, scanning, the whole 9 yards. So,
so we
Yeah.
didn't talk about it yet, Tina, but I know Ricky had a problem one time with gear. I'm not going to get into the details, but it wasn't double lined. So talk a little bit about double lining and what the advantage is for that.
so again, like I said, I don't set the standard or anything. Everybody's different, but for me, as a gear maker, I line everything. I don't charge people extra to line it. I don't, drawstring. Some people charge extra for that. I don't. It just seems like common sense. You need elastic and you need drawstring to hold up your pants. Like, you know, um,
Unless you want them falling off when they try to grab your trunks, right?
and for a while, I did charge extra for belt loops because that can be time consuming. But the double lining, um, when I'd say probably right before COVID, I really had just so many deathmatch hardcore type clients that would come to me. And so, you never know like what you're going to stumble into, like what kind of matches, unless, I mean, with them, they obviously know they're going to do death matches and hardcore, but
Yeah.
sometimes,
So they're going to get snagged.
yeah, something's going to get snagged, something's going to get ripped. There's been a lot of cases where, wrestlers come on after that and they already do the cleanup, but sometimes there's just stuff left behind, or they're taking down the ring and they're not paying attention. And for whatever reason, still wearing their gear, taking down the ring, and they get it hooked on something. So it's like a temporary band-aid to get you through the match until you can get it to your gear maker to say, hey, I need you to fix this
Sure.
without, exposing anything.
Yeah. And by the way, Tina, I'm staring at you when I do this. So I don't want you to think I'm not looking at you because that's where you are on my screen. So I always try to glance up, but I'm looking at you right now. People think like, why is he always staring off? I'm not. So I was going to ask you too. Well, here, let's bring these in. Gizmo says, for you, Ricky, says, do you have to find someone like Tina to make your wrestling gear, the current gear you got right now?
Well, for my wrestling gear, I ended up having to bounce around a lot of places because for my first match, I've been going to the same person since I had my first match, and the thing was, I was going off my coach Nathan was what he was recommending, and I got recommended to like I think 3 different people before I eventually found the right person because some prices are insane. For basic gear, like my first pair of wrestling gear, it was plain yellow tights and a tiny logo on the back, and that was it, nothing. And there was people telling me that might have to do like, well, in dollars it would have been like on the verge of $400.
Wow.
And I was like, that's insane. I can't pay that. I was 14. Where am I getting that from? But eventually I found the right person. They were able to do it for £45, which is like in dollars. I think that's probably about like $60.
60, 70
But
bucks, yeah.
so yeah, I eventually did have to find the right person. But it's Yeah, it is all about just finding the most convenient person for you. It's good to have someone like close by when you're going for wrestling gear. I'm sure Tina, you agree because of shipping. For both the person you're going to and yourself. The shipping can sometimes bite you in the ass a bit. So for convenience, I would always recommend personally try and keep someone who's shipping won't cause them any hassle or yourself any hassle. But yeah, I did end up having to do some looking myself, but luckily Nathan was able to help me out with that.
And then Gadget Gizmo's got a question. I think this is Damien. Has a question for Tina. Who is the most famous wrestler that you have created gear for?
Man, 30 years. Okay. Oh, it just, again, this is a generational question. Like, I would have to say Scorpio. And everybody that knows me, he's legitimately like my dad. Like, I've known him all my life. My kid calls him Papa Scorpio. She don't know the difference. So, of course, I have to, by law, say that.
Is this the one going through the training with Hernandez?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, she signed up for the kids camp, and of course, my aunt and Scorpio both are pretty, vocal. Like, I want to know everything. Like, how did they do it? What did they do?
Yeah.
And so, in comparison to around us, it was just the best one for her to go to.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, everybody, I do have watch along footage to show, which we're going to get to here as we're going to keep the interview going with Tina. We're just going to have it to watch along because we always have to show wrestling. And I figured since Tina's more my age, why don't we show something from me instead of this kid? So yeah, we'll show. But what I really wanted to show with this though is I got some brand new improvements to our restoration for VHS now. So all you guys that have been watching, like all these guys are on the video network, and they're gonna love to see this because this is what it's gonna turn into now. It's night and day difference. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna start playing this, Tina. And Tina, what's that?
Gonna quickly say, keep in mind though that when we had the last video playing, we couldn't hear Tina.
I know. I was just going to cover that. So, Tina, what you're going to want to do is turn your volume down a little bit on the device you have. That'll help that from happening. Because what's happening is the noise is taking over your voice from the match that I'm going to play. Matter of fact, and I'll turn the match volume down as well to combat that. So that'll help too.
Perfect.
And then first thing I want to show, though, I'm going to show the same thing, but I'm going to show you what it was like without me doing anything to it. So I want you to watch how this starts and see what it looks like. This is from Eddie Sharkey in the PWA when I was in the PWA. It's just one of my matches. This is a quick match. It's not long. I think it's like 7 minutes. But I just want you to see, because this is like a rough VHS that was like, I don't know how many generations given to me. These guys don't know what we're talking about. We're not talking about your generation. When I say generations, that was a thing with VHS tapes. Tina, every time you dub, you get it worse and worse and worse, right? So they don't have that problem, but we had it. So let's watch this. This is what it looked like in the beginning.
They don't know the struggle of having to use a pencil.
Yeah.
That's it.
No.
Okay, I got the audio pretty quiet, so I hope I can say it. This is the original. This is without me doing anything to it. See how it's fuzzy and it's
like cut and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's just. Now, granted, this is not pro shot. It's just somebody's video camera, but see how look, you can't make the details out really. It's not. It's just fuzzy, right?
Yep.
It's typical VHS. Okay, now I'm going to show you the improved version. This is after restoring it with Project Starlight.
Whoa.
Quite a bit different, huh?
Oh, is that like a bit of glass or something?
That glare you're seeing there? Oh yeah, that's a mirror. That's a mirror right there.
I thought that was like a really bad mess up in tape, and I was like, what's going on?
No, that's a mirror. It actually comes in handy in this match because you can see what's happening.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but see how how it's nice and clear? Yeah, it's really. So guys, when you watch our video network, this is what all the stuff's going to look more like this. We won't have those alien faces and all that weird artifacting, that AI artifacting we were getting. But here's the kicker. This is what did I say? 7 minutes, 8 minutes? Want to guess how long it took to restore this?
Hmm.
How long the computer had to chomp away at it? Full blast, going like heating up like an oven. 2.5 days. Yeah, it's doing some processing there.
What I am going to ask, just out of curiosity, Tina, once we get a good view of Crusher, I want you to give us a review of his gear and give us a wee rating out of 10
Yeah.
on how good his gear is, you know?
And also tell me if I'm better looking than Canary Kid back at this time in my age, when I was at this age, about the same age as him here.
In regards to gear.
Okay. Regards to me. Okay.
I'll be the one in the blue jacket, just so you know. You'll see me in the
Yeah.
blue jacket eventually.
Me personally, I think his gear sucks, personally. Like most things to do with Crusher. But are you weighing this guy?
Yeah, because we had to weigh in. You have to be under 180 some pounds to be a middleweight. This is a middleweight match.
Which reminds me of Bubba Ray Dudley used to have a thing like this.
Did he have
He
people
used to
weigh
have to
in?
himself. He used to have to weigh himself before every match. It's really funny.
Yeah, we only got about 6 minutes left. So this is a kind of a quick match, but now it's funny. They say I weighed 163 pounds. I was like $145 here. Yeah. But I am much better looking than Canary Kid, I would say, at this age.
In
Yes.
regards to gear. Which is also a lie. I think it's clear to see that your gear is very... honestly, I'm pretty sure my mom has a similar pair of tights. Can't lie.
Well, that was the style back then, Tina. You remember that? It was always elastic skin tights, Superman-looking tights, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, people used to wear trunks over their tights too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That I kind of wish we would bring back.
Having the
A
trunks
little-
over?
Yeah, why not?
Well, yeah, because my gear is a actual wrestling singlet, a blue singlet with black tights over that. That's how I get my look, you know, once I take my jacket off.
I mean,
Stenerson, he caught me in the jaw on that punch. Oh, man, I remember that. Like, he caught me with that. He was supposed to sucker punch me to start it.
Yeah,
based off...
the tights that I make are pretty high-waisted. So I don't really always get the chance to actually do the trunks and the tights. But I wish people would bring that back because I think that it makes the logos that go across the rear look better when they would have them that way. You know?
Gives you more to make as well.
So,
yeah. A little bit. Just a little bit. Not a lot.
Ricky doesn't think that my look was very good, right? That kind of look.
I think for the time period, the age, the accessibility to that, because, you know, again, during that time, you know, you didn't have parents like they do now that will homeschool their kids so they can train at an actual school. You know, you guys were doing it, you know, all on your own. So for the
even the training I got from Eddie Sharkey was old school training is nothing like they get today. I mean, Sean Hernandez will tell you the same thing.
For that time period and for the lack of accessibility, because obviously, you know, you're a kid, that actually wasn't bad. I actually like your opponent's gear better, though. I hate to say it.
Whoa. Tina. Whoa, let's put the brakes on there a little bit now.
Ring right now, like in the photo.
He's got spandex on. I actually got trunks that I ordered from a gear place.
Yeah, what do you think trunks are made out of?
I know, it's the same thing, really. Until they rip.
Well, but different line.
But no, I mean, that was always my look. I never went away from it. And when I ordered my boots, they were supposed to be the same color as my top, but they came cyan. So it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll go with it. They should have been dark blue though. Notice the referees got wrestling boots on. That was very common back in these days that the referees had boots as well.
Wasn't it pretty common back in WCW too?
I think so. I mean, I don't know when they went away from
During
it,
the
but
Saturday night era, I believe you would see that. And then, well, just like Big John Studd at, I think, was it WrestleMania that he was a guest referee? He wore his bright red boots with the whole ref outfit.
all right. I hate to interrupt, guys, but here comes my patented drop kick. At least a standing one.
Maybe I'll get a better view of your gear.
It's a really good noise. I get him right in the shoulder. And then there he goes. Hugs his manager. Man, this crowd was so rowdy. This is a bar, and if you were a heel, man, you'd look out. I was lucky. I was always cheered, but this is just a really rowdy bunch here.
But yeah, so what we gained from this match altogether, though, was that basically your gear sucks, Crush.
I like it.
That's what
and I'm
gained
better
from the
looking. I got a better
commentary.
body than Canary as well at this age, obviously. So
I mean, I'm talking about gear. No, you're trying to bring. It's almost like you're,
I just
content with
like
the idea of your
I
gear
like to
sucking.
needle him as all. He knows that.
Yeah, and your little, what is that, medical cast elbow pads? What are they? Looks
Yeah,
like you
there's
broke your elbow.
white elbow pads. Yeah. Leave it to the Canary to make fun of it.
And what, count out? Is that it?
Ray Webby, I don't know why he did this. Matchmaker down there.
All right.
They shouldn't have done that. I wasn't supposed to win it. Now I'm asking for the belt. But yeah, this is tight cars. I don't know why I did this either. I almost could have landed in the front row, but because the row's right by the ring. There's no room.
On the you getting into the ring. It's not actually playing the footage.
Oh, I didn't show it?
No, it's just showing you getting into the ring, so I can't really fully see your gear. I can see your opponents.
Oh, the camera trick thing. That's why.
Oh, you didn't do the camera trick thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
got
didn't
to do the
explain
camera
it.
trick thing. I
That's
forgot
on
about
you.
that. If you when I play a video, if you would have changed the camera view and then change it back, it would have played properly.
I should
Sorry.
explain that.
Yeah. But no, that was just I think my gear was better than his, and I mean it was like, come on, it's like
I mean,
come on, this is a cool look.
Differences.
Totally cool, like the boots.
It is. I mean, I would put those colors together, sure.
It's not bad. It's 80s.
But it's plain.
Yeah, see?
Very plain. That's how I describe Crusher. Very, very
It
plain.
is plain. But everybody was playing back
to the
then.
expert. That's all I'm saying, Crush.
You know, less was more.
Yeah, less was more. I like that.
Look,
that.
Crusher.
But that's also another thing that people need to realize. You don't have to have logos everywhere.
It can get too busy. It gets too busy. Like when you have Canary on the back and heart and the soul, and it just gets too busy, right?
If you get too busy, like this one would have been busy because he wanted palm trees and the lace up front. And I'm like, you're not even wide enough to have all that.
Yeah.
You know, just like if I would have done it with this one, they're probably about canary size. If I took a random.
That would be an extra small.
Yeah. So, I mean, less is really more. If you're not a big person, definitely don't go crazy with logos or designs, things like that, because you don't want, like, you want to look good, you want to sell your gimmick, you want to sell to the audience, but you don't want them to sit there trying to figure out everything on your gear instead of paying attention to your talent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because no reaction is not a good reaction, right? You want them either cheering or booing, and if they're too fixated on trying to figure out what you have on, you might not get anything at all.
And that's it. Yeah.
Canary's original gear, though, he has the silver pants, but he used to have a gold jacket, and we started teasing him with Elvis, and he stopped wearing it. So I don't know, maybe the gold jacket looked like that.
You should wear it, Canary. It would be great. You're
Yeah.
a
I have a
champ.
new jacket in store that's ready for the big match, just for whenever I need to put it out. But the gold jacket was too much shine. It was too much shininess, you know. I
The
look like a
first
tinfoil wrap.
the first
Didn't-
time he got this new look, I played a little Elvis montage with the da 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 da, and I was like, that was a good episode actually.
But I was gonna say no, but yeah, like what you were saying there about you don't want people being overwhelmed by gear. Like I feel like for me growing up, that's what I actually funny enough, that's what made me, drew me towards wrestlers was the first look. Because when I was first getting into wrestling, I didn't really know anything about them, so I was like, that guy looks cool, I like him, and that's why I think Rey Mysterio was one of my first ever favorites because he was the only guy in the entire roster coming out with, baggy pants with like cool colors. Like he always had a different color every
Yeah,
week and
I
this
did.
cool, like, colorful mask. And he used to literally having his Titan on, basically just showing off every bit of gear he ever had with that mask, like flipping and all. So
But that's the thing, though. That's a great example right there, and we'll use that real quick. Yes, he has the mask and different colors and the whole 9 yards, but logo wise, he has rear, two sides, two sides. Less is more.
And what was Crusher wearing? Less. So
no
exactly,
logos at
I
all.
agree
There's
to
less
you.
and then there's
Agree.
nothing. You were wearing nothing. I am the epitome of less. I have rear and two sides, and that's all I have. That's all I need. And it gets
Yeah.
across everything, I have my name and I have
But you need
catchphrases.
to have Tina make you new ones that say hate, anger, and I don't know what you put on the back. I haven't figured that one out yet, but yeah.
We don't do negativity.
But yeah,
But
that now when you do logos and stuff, Canary, is yours how are your new logos? How are they put on that gear on your new one?
my current logos were sewed.
So those are
Um,
sewed on.
that was the gear maker's preference. So I feel like with my tights, I don't think the gear maker I'm with, because he never really made an opinion about any other gear until I started going with baggy, and he repeatedly told me how much he enjoys making baggy, which I think is why these have held out so long, because he's passionate about it. Meanwhile, with the tights, they ripped really quick, so I don't think he's a big fan of making tights.
Well, the
That's
problem
where I
is,
get the idea from.
so the reason your tights rip, though, honestly, is you're probably growing and you just grew into them too much. And
I'd had them less than 5 months.
I know, but you'd be
Yeah.
surprised how quick you grow at your age.
So
I mean-
I've been handling this new gear like it's a newborn baby. I've been like, rocking it to sleep and everything. I'm being super gentle with this
You
gear.
shouldn't have to handle any gear.
I know.
If it was an entrance jacket or a big item that may be rhinestoned, or heavy metal objects. Yeah, obviously, just like with the chains and stuff on the vest, handle with care.
Mhm.
And
But
Tina,
you shouldn't have to handle any actual wearable that you're going to wrestle in with care. That should never
well, he's
be.
doing. I know why he says that, because he's had stuff fall apart and letters come off and everything, and he's concerned. I get where he's coming from a little bit, but you're right. You shouldn't have to worry about it.
And I'll just send it over with Crusher. And
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, if I don't ask for Dixie Dave, he wants me to ask, can Tina ever make us NWF jackets? Because he wants NWF. We used to have them back in the day. They were just a cheesy.
the bomber jackets that
Yeah,
you could just take and have.
Go to a sports shop, yeah, and they make you the jacket. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's
Yep.
nothing fancy.
I
But
had one in 8th grade. That was one of my big Christmas presents one year. Was my
Yeah.
name in Old English on the back of a bomber jacket.
yeah,
That my mom I think she spent more on just having my name put on it, because we didn't have an embroidery machine, obviously, because I would have done it myself. But
well,
yeah,
I wish I would have
remember
known you. I wish I would have known you. I would have thought of you earlier, because I had to make a special ref shirt to go out to Ireland with. And
Mhm.
I had to get the NWF patch put on it. And that was like, first of all, where do I get the patch? So I had to find somebody to make me a patch. And I found someone. There's a lot of them you can find that'll do just that. And then I don't know how to sew it, but my sister's a sewer like you. Not like as good as you, but she can sew. And she sewed the patch on for me. So I got this
That
patch.
is
On the,
something I actually hear quite often. Is my grandmother is a seamstress, or my mom sews, or my sister sews, and so then they will try and compare, like, well, how much do you know? Because they can. I'm like, well, why aren't they making your gear then?
Right.
And then not just like, well, okay, here you go.
End discussion off of that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
That's,
exactly.
yeah.
Those are actually kind of my favorite. They're kind of, and I actually just got a review from him 2 days ago. He was like, I put them on and I went to training and I do a lot of, high flying moves and it just flowed and I just loved them so much. And so he was really happy with those. I think I might have sent the wrong photo on those because I sent the one where I didn't trim the gold on the inside, but
Yeah.
I just now noticed that.
Oh no, they did look like it was a really good, like shiny pair. That like blue
Mhm.
color, and that was great design.
And so a lot of my logos, when I do those logos, I do mix my media with that. Some people, they do like, they'll do the vinyl. That is like a heavily favored go-to, I think, for some. And with those, I did it with, shiny fabric, but also the vinyl and stitch it down. This one was same, just vinyl on shiny fabric. The stripes are actual fabric; they're not vinyl. But usually on his letters, because I've made 2 other pairs for him, I usually do it in fabric, and I just cut it out of the fabric in the varsity letters. So, and then we change up the belt, and that one just didn't have side plates on it this time.
And then here's a question from Gizmo for you, Tina. It says, you have some great insight and understanding of wrestling culture. How did you get started with your field? Like, what got you started doing this with the wrestling gear?
My parents.
Were they like fans or?
So, prior to me actually getting heavily into it as a kid, we were stationed at Fort Dix, New Jersey. So New York was just a bridge over. My dad would have to go there for training, exercises. He was an instructor as well for a couple years up there. And so he would just meet, indie wrestlers trying to get on the big shows, in New York. We don't have to say, we all know what New York is. But he also, would meet people, coming from those. And my mom went with him a couple times while we would stay with family, and they just kind of got to know these wrestlers. And, then they would come by and they would see my talent, what I can do at such a young age. And, then my mom kind of was like, well, we can get you some tights if you pay the right amount. And so I never saw any of that, but I did the work, so I helped my parents retire, at an early age, but
That's kind of how you got your start then in doing all this.
it wasn't probably the best start. I mean, no one should exploit talents, but I fell in love with it. I just love creating. It's just kind of my jam.
Tina, I can totally relate to what you just said there. No one should exploit talents.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he takes my drop kick and tries to make it better, he's exploiting my talents, and I agree with that. But at the same time, I'm still his fan, and I don't mind him trying to make it better. So,
Crusher, I'm pretty sure in the title.
Time though, back then, back then it was like, oh, my kid can do this. Let's make some money,
Right.
And then today it would be like, oh no, why would you do that, So, I mean, I just kind of stuck with it for a really, as long as we could. And then it was at some point not okay with people having my parents have me sew. And so they kind of nixed it until I was about 15, 16. And so in Missouri, you know, the local talents, when we moved back there after my parents split, they would have me do their gear. And that's kind of, you know, that was my after school job,
Right.
you know, for a
Yeah.
lot of years.
That's pretty
So,
cool.
I mean, I did it, and then I joined the service. I tried to do it while I was in the service, but again, you know, you never really know where you're going to be or, you know, where you may be sent to be. So you can't
Right.
be consistent. But there is another gear maker out here who's actually in the Marines, and
Yeah.
he's very good. And he actually does the airbrushing
Yeah.
like Rick Rude.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. And I got to put him over a little bit. Benny O Designs. I believe he's out of Corpus, maybe, but he does beautiful work with airbrushing. So, I mean, I'm hoping maybe I can talk him into show me how to do that.
Sure.
There's things I've done for gear welding. I've welded things. um, you know, heat guns.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of blows people's minds what's possible.
Well, you know, we're kind of getting to the end here of our interview, and I have to ask you before we let you go. I know you've been following us and stuff, and what is your prediction between the Canary Kid and Ben Nelson? Because I know we talked about it a little bit when we did our test, and what does Tina think's going to happen in that match in the week?
Well, that's a pointed question. You know, I think that Canary Kid kind of needs to rein it in a bit. Now, listen, sir. Listen, okay? You got to rein it in. You got to rein it in a little bit. You can't be all angry and, you know, I get the passion from that, but as somebody who has similar, I see a lot of me in you, but you got to rein it in because it can get out of control real quick, and then you're not going to focus your eye on the prize.
And not only that, but you don't know. I'm going to talk about this more when I have these guys on the show, but the damage you're doing right now to your friendship is another discussion, but we won't get into that.
What is this, an intervention? What's happening?
You know,
There was a simple answer right there.
I see it like, you know, I see, you know, the anger and stuff can be fuel, but you don't want to put too much in there or you're going to drown.
Because I don't know. I just think back to his earlier stuff when he didn't have that. You see, the whole anger thing with him came from pure filth, and he just took some of it with him when he was in that faction. They're just an awful faction. And before that, though, he was definitely full of passion. That's what I noticed. That's why when I seen him, I thought, my God, it's like looking in a mirror for me, because I could see, you know, when you see somebody who's got, I'm not talking physical appearance. I'm just saying when you see the passion somebody has, that's something you can see, you know, like I can see the passion, Tina, and you with your work, right? You don't have to tell me about it. It doesn't have to be a physical resemblance. You just see passion, something you can see when you know what it looks like.
Well, I mean, some of my clients can tell you that, you know, I do have some issues with insomnia because I am a combat vet.
Yeah.
So I just kind of utilize my time. If I'm not going to be sleeping, I just put it into my work. And
Sure.
so that's why, you know, I do get a lot of work churned out, is because I want to be productive.
Right.
You know,
Well, I
and
think
I love it. And I love seeing people that I've watched just be miserable 1 year at a job that's barely making the bills,
yeah.
struggling for school, you know, to get the correct training and, you know, guidance. And then the next year, they're like on one of the bigger stages on the indie territory, you know, arenas. And then the following year, you see them be a guest, or whatever on the big stage, TNA, AEW, and it's just wonderful to see. And that's why I do what I do. I could care less about the money part. It's just knowing that you contributed somehow.
Oh, yeah, you're preaching to
And
the choir, Tina. There was times where I'd work for free. I didn't care. I loved it that much. In fact, whenever I do work for Eddie or anything, I never asked how much am I getting paid. Whatever he paid me, paid me. Sometimes he pays you in tickets. He'd give you like 8 tickets. So you can sell the tickets. That's your money. I wouldn't have any trouble selling the tickets. I'm a salesman at nature, but that's sometimes they pay you with tickets. So I remember that.
There's been times over the year that people have lost their gear in like house fires or medical emergencies. They automatically cut it.
That's what happened to Dixie Dave. He lost his gear in a fire. Yeah.
And so, I try to do those things, if I see a kid out there, because everybody's a kid to me, but if I see a kid out there and I know
Like
that they are putting the work in and everything, and something happens like that, I usually try to step up and I wouldn't say a hand out, more like a hand up.
Yeah.
Because it can take just one small incident to make or break somebody wanting to continue.
Yeah.
And it's sad when people have all the talent in the world, like Canary, and then, something happens and then they're just like, you know what? That was it. I can't do it. So, I mean, I try to set aside for those, because I do love what I do, and I do love helping people, veterans especially. So,
well, you have to be passionate and enjoy what you're doing, and you have to enjoy your job. And I've always said, if you don't enjoy what you're doing in life, find something else to do. Don't go through life miserable like that.
That are very specific on what they will accept design wise. It's not so much like they don't want to do tights or they don't want to do trunks, just design wise.
Right.
And I think it's because some of them are just so great that they just stay so booked that they have to be selective so they don't get burned out.
Sure.
And for me, sometimes I think it's close to burnout, but it's not really burnout. It's like, okay, you made like 8 sets of gear. It's okay to take a day off, because I work every day. I don't know if you guys notice, but every single day I'm working on gear.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned
I
that
might
to me.
hammer out 3 sets. I might hammer out 8. I might hammer out 1.
Yeah.
But every single day, my life revolves around this. That's how much I love it.
Right, and that just shows that people like your work because you're always getting more. So, well, Tina, I want to thank you for coming on. This is a neat episode. We've never done one like this before, and it was really cool to learn. And I think guys out there, Ricky, are going to be interested, and they know how to get a hold of Tina because her contact's right there. I'd say Instagram is your best bet, but Facebook too.
Yeah, those are my 2 main that come to me. I do have an assistant that helps me with the social media aspect of it and getting updates out to clients. So, and usually she's pretty good at identifying herself. She'll say, "Hey, you're talking to Crystal. Let me get this over to Tina real quick."
Right. So if anybody's interested out there who watches with us and stuff, and they're interested in gear, maybe check out Tina, see what she can do for you. You ship everywhere. You ship all around the world, so you can ship anywhere. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not too bad to ship, honestly, gear, because you can use those plastic pack, or what do they call it? Tyvek, is it?
Yeah.
So it can be pretty. It's not going to weigh a lot, is what I'm trying to say.
So. Yeah, because FedEx actually does it by dimensions. So if you, and I don't think a lot of people know that, but if you ship anything with FedEx, which I tend to lean into a lot because it's always guaranteed for me, it's by dimensions, and those bags save so much. Like I tell wrestlers all the time, like, don't put stuff in a box. If you can get it in one of those bags to send your merch, so you can make some
Right.
type of money and keep it, do that.
Right. Exactly. All right, Tina. Well, I'm going to thank you for coming on. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us. It was really great talking with you. I'll have to have you come back again sometime. I think it was
Yeah,
great.
great show.
Yeah. Good show. We're going to.
Absolutely. And if you guys want those jackets,
Oh, yeah. I just got to think of the design. That's the part I got to think of. But I can do my own design work, so I can figure something
Canary
out.
just needs to send me his measurements in inches, not metric.
Oh, if you want Dave's measurements, it's going to be in feet. You're not talking about inches. No, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. You're talking about Dixie Dave here. Now, Crusher Crossing, centimeters will do.
No, I gotta have it. The only clients that I'll do metrics is my international clients,
Yeah,
because that's
because like this guy up here, he doesn't know what inches are. He's going to have to.
I know what
be
inches are.
Well, he knows what they are, but they're metric over there, so they're retarded.
yeah. Just send me and let me know if it's metric or not. And
Right.
I'll hook you up.
All right, sounds
Perfect.
good, Tina.
Keep
Thanks
on,
for
man.
joining us. It's
All
great.
right.
Great interview.
Thank you.
That's fascinating. What'd you think, Ricky? Thoughts?
Yeah, great insight. Helped me understand the gear making side of wrestling a lot more, which is a bit of an underrated art.
Well, and everybody needs it in the wrestling business. They need gear, and like you said, like you're a good example of that. Like what happens when you try to get stuff that's maybe a little bit on the cheap and it falls apart on you, right?
Yeah,
With that first one, the letters and stuff. Hang on here. There we go. I couldn't hear, but yeah, I mean, and then even Gizmo says, "Nice idea for a show." Did you find it interesting, guys? I know we're usually talking character and wrestlers and everything, but like we did in the beginning, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of fascinating. And even though he made fun of my gear, Ricky made fun of my outfit. I think my outfit was cool.
Yeah,
So,
it's as cool as like the color beige.
it was cool for the 80s. I blended in. And she thought Troy's was better. I can't believe that. His
Definitely
was
better.
crap looking compared to mine. I don't know. Maybe it's because I just looked better in my gear versus that big tub that I was in there with.
That actually makes no sense. It's a very contradictory statement.
I was good. Gizmo or Gadget Gizmo says this was a great episode. Mm-hmm.
You're very welcome. I'm sure Crusher weighed it down a bit, but I did my best to carry it back up.
And then I was going to say, let's talk about what's coming up on some shows here. At least tentatively, I'm going to say right now, guys, because things can change. What we got next? Well, first of all, I thought this was cool. I've showed this before. We like that picture, right? Everybody likes that picture.
That's not coming up next. How about you, don't lie to the people?
The only reason I showed that, though, and get rid of that comment, was because I think this is even better. This is my artistic version of that. And that's like cool looking.
Uh-huh.
Isn't it? That turned out good. Gotta say.
Looks like it was drawn by Stevie Wonder. It's awful.
Oh, come on, Ricky. Give me a little credit. I'm pretty good at that stuff.
Nope.
I mean, you didn't even like I think I have it in here actually. I know you like this. You'll like this one.
Yeah, amazing. I feel like they didn't give me enough abs, so unrealistic.
Unrealistic. You wish you had abs like that. Yeah, I see. Look I do this for Ricky. I'm nice to him and everything, and look how he treats me. That's what we got coming up. So this is on the books, but I don't know because you guys are telling me there might be some issues this day. We don't know. We got to find out. We might have to rearrange the show or try to do it at a different time, maybe on Saturday. So this one's up in the air, but as of now, it's for Sunday at 7:00, right?
Yep. As of now.
It's supposed to be Canary and Ben. We really want to hear from Ben because we haven't heard from Ben a whole lot in all of this.
I mean, I don't mind.
I mean, we really need to hear from him though to kind of talk up so we can talk about the match.
I think we agree with everyone that who needs to hear from Ben.
And then this is on the schedule right now too. And again, this one might change time-wise, but we're going to have this show. And it's all these people. It's all of us in person when I'm over in Ireland. It's going to be myself right next to the Canary Kid and Ben Nelson. And also Nathan Hoy and John McCann will be on this show as well. So they'll be on first, then Canary and Ben come on, and I'll be in between them. And I'm going to keep Law and Order on that show as well because, we're all going to be in person. But I know Ricky will behave himself when I'm right there with him. He knows better. Is that right? And you know what, Ricky? We'll be in a wrestling ring. So I suggest you behave yourself on that episode.
Stop talking. Just wrap it up. The people are getting tired. They're sick of listening to you.
You need a haircut, by the way.
Just to have her.
Bad.
Baldy.
Yeah, my hair's good. Tina liked my look and my gear and my hair, and she says it was good. So I'll take that.
She never spoke once about your hair.
Well, I said, who looked better, Crusher or Canary? She said Crusher.
She didn't answer.
I thought I heard Crusher. I don't know.
Sure. You choose what you hear. Selective hearing,
But no, was there anything we wanted to double back on? I hope we have. I don't know what time we're going to do that podcast in the dojo on Friday. I just don't know. The time might change a little bit on us. Might be a little bit later.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to get that worked out. But the one that with Keaton is the one that's really up in the air. Mm-hmm. So we got to see what's going to happen with that one. But I'm trying to think what we were gonna do on the Keaton show is show your first match with Ben that been the best of 3, and then show the second one. And I have it all ready to show.
Perfect.
I will say this though, Ricky, you never did explain why you cheated. I mean, you always say you never cheat. You never answered that.
I don't need to explain myself to anyone.
When I ask you to. Why did you cheat?
I'll explain myself when the people are ready to get the explanation.
Okay, why did you interfere in the match? I have a theory. Do I know
you can throw theories around, but the people aren't ready to hear it. I will answer questions when I'm ready to answer questions.
Well, I'm looking at nobody has seen the match, but my question though is very simple. You said that you never cheat. You don't break rules. Correct?
Was I disqualified? No.
Did you pay the ref underhandedly to not disqualify you?
No, it's just I didn't break any major rules.
Outside interference? Pretty major to me.
Clearly wasn't enough.
Getting in the ring and holding Ben's arms behind his back?
I didn't hit the guy. It's not illegal.
You're in the ring.
You're
not part of the match.
I can get in the ring all I want. As long as I don't interfere. Referee will tell me to get out, and he did.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but you try stuff like that in a week when I'm reffing, you will get disqualified.
Yeah, well, I'll not be on the outside. I'll be on the inside, so I can't really outside interfere in a match I'm in, can I?
But you can cheat, can't you?
I don't cheat.
We'll see about that. I hope not. I don't want to have to disqualify you. But that'll happen if you do.
I'm sure.
So you're just going to have to get with it. And you interfered 4 or 5 times he did. But you know what my theory is? I'm going to tell you. The reason Canary interfered so much is he wanted to be disqualified. He wanted this guy to lose because by him losing means Canary ducks and dodges Crusher and doesn't have to face the brick wall that he would be facing. So that's why you wanted to get disqualified. That's why you interfered so much. Anything to make Ben win that match when you're not in the ring with him.
You sound like one of those moon landing deniers or flat earthers. These conspiracies are insane. You are out of your mind, and I just think you need more time to think about what's coming out of your mouth, because honestly, you're just making yourself look like more of an idiot than usual and the biggest schmuck on planet Earth.
I'm not the one that's afraid of Crusher.
Yeah, it's one thing me and you have in common, I guess.
I'm afraid of Crusher? Oh, you say you're not afraid of Crusher. Okay, well then, yeah. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense with everything you just pulled. This is a scheme of yours, by the way, Rick. It's a scheme. And you thought you fooled people. You didn't.
Uh-huh.
You heard, look at all the comments that came in. Everybody's telling you the same thing now at this point, Ricky. Remember, if I had to get in the ring with you for that 10 minutes or whatever it would be, you wouldn't like me. But outside of that match, you're on your side. You have to understand that. I'm on your side as much as I'm on Ben's side. And I want to make this clear. I'm very sorry about what I did with propping him up. I was wrong. This is what you do when you make mistakes. You admit to them. And then you move forward. So there's still time. You got a week. But I'm telling you this much. This is my concern, Ricky, and I'm just going to leave it here. I'm coming 5,000 miles with that NWF belt to have a really good match between you and Ben. Remember the very first episode before I started propping him up and how you said all the respect you had for each other and everything? You were talking very highly of each other. That's the match that everybody was wanting to see. So remember, when you go into this match in a week, that's the match we need to have. Something that to really remember it by. And to make everybody very proud that you guys are going to take this belt. Remember, I picked you two. I could have picked anybody. But I picked you two. It was my decision. And that's why I picked you guys, because you're capable of delivering. So you need to start looking in the mirror and accept the reality. All right?
I'm the only one living a reality crusher from my perspective, so you can live in the real fantasy land, and I'll sit here in the real world, face the facts.
No, you'll learn. You will learn. You can say whatever you want to me. It bounces off, remember? I'm like a big rubber ball. It just bounces off. And nothing you can say to me, nothing you can do to me that's going to change my mind.
Yeah, you're a big ball, all right.
And Canary, you're just so mad. You're so, because I could just imagine what was going through your head. Well, Crusher, we're going to have to talk about that match you want to do. No, we're not going to talk about that match.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That speaks volumes, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, by the way, you're not in uniform.
No.
You know you're supposed to be on the NWF uniform.
You're going to fire me?
I could if I wanted to, but I like you too much, so I guess I won't. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And just think now, in a week, well, gosh, how many days is it now? Maybe 5 days I'll be in Ireland. In Europe. Crusher Crossen in Europe again. Haven't been there since I defended the title over there back in the day. So, never been to Ireland though. So that'd be cool. All right, folks, that was the show. So hopefully we'll be live, and we're just hoping when. This is a crazy weekend coming up, so we'll see what happens with Ricky and Ben. I think they're so mad at each other, they're trying to avoid each other is what's going on here. Would you say that's a fair statement?
I don't know. I'm just focused on myself. I don't care about Ben right now. That's all I can say.
Are you focused? That's the question.
Laser focused.
We got a week, folks, and we'll see. I'm pretty sure we'll be together on this special show where we have Ben and Ricky together. I'm sure we'll make that work one way or the other, and then we'll see what happens then. And that'll be a face-to-face. So, all right, folks, that's about it for the show, and we will see you next time we are live.
See ya.